You'll never belong here. People like you are born to serve, not to heal hearts. The words cut deeper than any blade. They were spoken by a man draped in silk, surrounded by chandeliers, sipping wine from crystal. He was a billionaire, admired in magazines, envied in boardrooms. And she was a girl in a thrift store dress, clutching a worn notebook, her hands trembling. Her name was Amara Daniels. And she would carry those words like a scar, until the day she turned them into power. Amara grew up in the south side of Atlanta, in a neighborhood where sidewalks cracked and buses ran late, but dreams still burned in every child's chest. Her mother, a nurse's aide, worked double shifts. Her father had left when she was 6. Money was scarce, but love was plentiful. Amara was different from the other kids. While they played outside until the streetlights blinked on, she was at the library, devouring books about the human heart, not poetry, but anatomy. She wanted to become a cardiologist. To fix broken hearts, literally. But ambition was expensive. By the time she turned 16, Amara worked weekends at a diner. At 17, she cleaned offices after school. At 18, she juggled 3 jobs while tutoring her younger cousins in algebra. College applications piled on her desk like unopened letters to another world. She was brilliant, yes. But brilliance, in her world, had to compete with survival. It was during her sophomore year at a local community college that Amara's path first crossed with Ethan Cole. Ethan was a millionaire real estate mogul, young and arrogant, a man who filled the news with deals, parties, and scandals. His face was everywhere, billboards, magazines, even motivational podcasts. But behind the glamour was a rumor: Ethan's empire was built on exploitation, foreclosures, and crushing small communities like Amara's. One day, Amara's biology professor announced an opportunity, a scholarship contest sponsored by the Cole Foundation. Students could pitch their ideas on how science or medicine could change lives. The winner would receive a full scholarship to a top university. Amara stayed up 3 nights straight, scribbling in her notebook. She didn't pitch a new invention. She pitched herself. Her essay began with, "I want to fix broken hearts, not only with medicine, but with hope." Her words carried her to the finals. And the finals meant standing in front of Ethan Cole himself. The event was held in a ballroom glittering with chandeliers, waiters carrying trays of champagne, guests in gowns and tuxedos. Amara walked in wearing the only dress she owned, a faded blue thing from Goodwill, stitched by her mother the night before to look presentable. When it was her turn, she walked to the stage, heart pounding. She spoke of her community, of the people who worked themselves to exhaustion, of her dream to heal them. She spoke of dignity, perseverance, and how the human heart was more than a muscle, it was a symbol of resilience. When she finished, the room was silent. Ethan leaned back in his chair, smirking. Then he said the words that would haunt her. "You'll never belong here. People like you are born to serve, not to heal hearts." The audience chuckled nervously. Some clapped politely. But Amara's face burned. She bowed her head and left the stage, her notebook clutched to her chest like a shield. She didn't win. Another student, a wealthy donor's son, walked away with the scholarship. That night, Amara wept. But she also vowed, "One day, I will stand where he sits. One day, he will see me not as a servant, but as a savior." Amara pressed on. She finished community college, then transferred to a state university on grants, loans, and sheer determination. She worked nights at the library, mornings at a bakery, afternoons in class. She fell asleep on buses, woke up in lecture halls, and carried her mother's encouragement like oxygen. Years passed. The path was brutal. She faced professors who underestimated her, classmates who mocked her accent, patients in internships who looked past her to the white intern standing beside her. But each humiliation sharpened her. Each setback added fuel. By the time she graduated, Amara wasn't just a student, she was a force. She had earned her degree in pre-med with honors. She had been accepted into one of the top medical schools in the country. And yet, the shadow of Ethan Cole lingered. She never forgot his words. While Amara climbed quietly, Ethan Cole began to crumble. His investments soured. Lawsuits piled. His reputation, once untouchable, cracked under whispers of corruption. By the time Amara was in her second year of medical school, Ethan was no longer in headlines for success, but for scandal. His wife divorced him. His empire shrank. And then, the cruelest twist, Ethan suffered a heart attack at just 43. He survived. But his heart was weakened, both physically and emotionally. For the first time in his life, Ethan Cole was vulnerable. It was fate, or justice, that brought them back together. Amara, now a resident in cardiology, walked into a hospital room one morning and froze. Lying in the bed was Ethan Cole. Older now, hair grayer, arrogance dimmed but not erased. Tubes ran from his chest. His eyes flickered open and fell on her. Recognition hit him. He smirked faintly, though it was weaker now. "You, the girl from the contest." Amara steadied herself. She placed the chart at the foot of his bed and spoke calmly. "Yes. The girl who wanted to fix broken hearts." Their eyes locked. For Ethan, it was disbelief. For Amara, it was destiny. Days later, Ethan asked to see her privately. He confessed that his heart was failing, not just medically but emotionally. His empire was gone, his family estranged, his legacy poisoned. He admitted, in his own arrogant way, that he was broken. And Amara told him the words she had once written in her notebook. "I can fix your broken heart." The irony was cruel and perfect. Years ago, he had humiliated her in front of a crowd. Now, his life, his very heartbeat, rested in her hands. Ethan laughed bitterly. He told her he didn't deserve help. She told him it wasn't about deserving, it was about humanity. But as she left his room, Ethan whispered, "If you fix me, I'll owe you everything." For Amara, this was not just about healing a heart. This was about justice. But could she heal the man who once crushed her dreams? The question hung in the air as the monitor beside Ethan beeped steadily, each beat a reminder that time was running out. The hospital lights hummed quietly overhead. Machines pulsed in rhythmic beeps. Ethan Cole, once untouchable, lay tethered to tubes and wires, his empire replaced by antiseptic walls. Amara Daniels stood at the foot of his bed, her white coat clean but wrinkled from a 20-hour shift. To anyone else, he was just another patient. But to her, he was the echo of a wound she had carried for years. This was the man who had once told her she was born to serve, not to heal. And now, he was at her mercy. For days, Ethan hardly spoke. He stared at the ceiling, flinched at every test, barked orders at nurses. Yet when Amara walked in, he softened. She was professional, always professional, but there was an edge in her voice he couldn't ignore. When she explained his treatment plan, she spoke with precision. When she reminded him of dietary restrictions, her tone carried authority. Ethan, used to being obeyed, now found himself listening. Not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. Still, the silence between them was heavy. It wasn't the silence of strangers. It was the silence of history. Amara wrestled with herself. Each time she checked his pulse or adjusted his memories surged. His smirk at the scholarship contest. His cruel words echoing in that ballroom. The laughter of the guests as her dreams were dismissed. She could walk away now. She could refuse his case. Nobody would blame her. But Amara's mother had raised her on one principle: we don't do what's easy. We do what's right. So she stayed. At night, she stared at the city skyline from her small apartment window, asking herself if she was a fool. Was she healing the man who had once broken her? Or was this her chance to reclaim her dignity, by proving him wrong in the most powerful way. One evening, Ethan broke the silence. His voice was hoarse, stripped of its usual arrogance. "You hate me, don't you?" he asked. Amara didn't answer immediately. She adjusted his monitor, checked his vitals, then met his gaze. "I don't hate you. But I'll never forget what you said to me." Ethan exhaled, eyes closing. "I was young. Arrogant. Thought money gave me the right to judge anyone. Turns out, money can't stop a heart from failing." For the first time, Ethan looked small. Human. Mortal. Word spread among hospital staff that Ethan Cole was Amara's patient. Some whispered encouragement, others whispered doubts. One senior doctor even pulled her aside. "You don't have to take this case. He's toxic. Let someone else handle it." But Amara shook her head. "If I walk away, I prove him right, that I was never meant to be here. I need to do this, not for him, for me." Her resolve was iron. Weeks turned into months. Ethan's recovery required discipline he didn't have. But Amara pushed him. She designed his regimen, oversaw his medications, even sat with him during grueling therapy sessions. At first, he resisted. He cursed. He threatened to quit. But Amara never flinched. One day, when he tried to sneak a glass of whiskey into his room, she grabbed it, poured it down the sink, and looked him in the eye. "Do you want to live or not? Because if you don't, I won't waste my time." For once, Ethan didn't argue. As days passed, something unexpected grew between them. Not friendship. Not forgiveness. Something more complex. Ethan began to ask about her life. She told him, cautiously, about her mother, about growing up in the South Side, about studying late at the library because it was the only place with reliable heat in winter. Ethan listened. Really listened. And one night, he admitted. "You're stronger than anyone I've ever known. Stronger than me. Maybe that's why I said what I said back then. I was afraid of you." His words stunned her. Could it be that his cruelty was born not from disdain, but from fear? Months later, Ethan was discharged. His health was fragile, but his spirit seemed steadier. Before leaving, he turned to Amara. "I want you to come work for me," he said. "Not as an employee. As my partner. I've lost everything, but maybe we can build something new." Amara froze. Partner? With him? Every instinct told her to say no. But another voice, quieter, wiser, reminded her, this is the moment. The tables are turning. She didn't answer. Not yet. News spread quickly. The press caught wind that Ethan Cole, disgraced millionaire, was being treated by a black woman he once humiliated. Headlines blared, "Fallen mogul saved by former scholarship contestant, poetic justice in the hospital." Social media exploded with commentary. Some praised Amara as a hero. Others accused her of being naive, even a traitor, for helping a man who had harmed so many. The pressure mounted. Amara found herself at a crossroads. Should she step into his world, risking everything? Or should she stay in her own lane, building her career without the shadow of Ethan Cole? One evening, as Amara left the hospital, a woman stopped her in the parking lot. Middle-aged, dressed modestly, her eyes sharp with anger. "You don't know who he is," the woman said. "He destroyed my family. Took our home, left us on the streets. Don't trust him. He'll use you like he used everyone else." Amara's chest tightened. She wanted to argue, but the woman's pain was raw. Real. Could Ethan truly change? Or was this just another game? After nights of wrestling, Amara made a decision. She agreed to meet Ethan, not as his doctor, but as herself. They sat in a quiet cafe. He was dressed simply, no bodyguards, no luxury watch. Just a man stripped of his empire. He looked at her across the table and said, "I don't want to rebuild my wealth. I want to rebuild my soul. And I think you're the only one who can help me do it." Amara felt a storm inside her. Was this redemption? Or manipulation? She didn't know yet. But she knew one thing: she was no longer the girl in the faded blue dress. She was Dr. Amara Daniels. And she held the power now. As she left the cafe, Amara's phone buzzed. A message. It was from an unknown number. "Don't trust Ethan Cole. If you partner with him, you'll regret it." Amara's fingers trembled as she locked her phone. The city lights blurred through her tears. She had walked into a new battlefield. And the war for redemption, his and hers, was just beginning. The cafe door closed softly behind Amara. Her phone still buzzed in her hand with the anonymous warning. "Don't trust Ethan Cole. If you partner with him, you'll regret it." She tucked it away, but her heart thundered. For weeks, she had been trying to convince herself that Ethan could change. That maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to turn pain into power. But warnings have a way of burrowing deep. Over the next few weeks, Amara noticed the shift. Whenever she was seen with Ethan, walking into meetings, attending therapy checkups, people whispered. Colleagues avoided eye contact. Some of her mentors in medicine even called her privately. "Be careful, Amara. He has ruined careers before. You've worked too hard to throw it away now." The judgment weighed on her. But there was something else too, the lingering image of Ethan, stripped of his arrogance, asking her for help. His eyes had been hollow, broken, almost childlike. Could it be possible that this was not manipulation, but genuine desperation? One evening, Ethan invited Amara to his penthouse. She hesitated. This was the same place where he had once hosted lavish parties, where pictures of champagne and chandeliers made headlines. Now, it was silent. The marble floors gleamed, but the rooms were empty. Half the furniture had been sold. Paintings once worth millions were gone. It was a mausoleum of wealth. Ethan sat across from her, his hands trembling as he held a photo frame, a picture of his ex-wife and daughter. "I lost them," he whispered. "I thought money made me invincible. But when my heart gave out, I realized I had nothing left. Not love. Not family. Not respect." Amara studied him carefully. His voice cracked with sincerity. Or was it performance? She couldn't tell. Then he looked at her and said, "You're the first person who ever told me the truth. Even when I was cruel to you, you stood tall. That's why I need you now. To help me rebuild, not my wealth, but my soul." The offer was tempting. Ethan wasn't asking her to abandon medicine. He wanted her to help him build a foundation, a new kind of charity, one focused on healthcare access for marginalized communities. "You know the pain," he said. "You've lived it. I have the money, or what's left of it. Together, we could create something real." For the first time, Amara felt a dangerous flicker of hope. If she said yes, she could help thousands of people like her mother, her neighbors, her community. She could rewrite Ethan's name into something meaningful. But the warning text echoed in her mind. "Don't trust him." A week later, Amara received a package at her apartment. No sender listed. Inside, a thick envelope. Documents. They were foreclosure papers, contracts, testimonies, proof that Ethan Cole had built his empire on broken lives. One name stood out, Daniel's Family Trust. Her hands shook as she read. Years earlier, when she was just a child, Ethan's company had repossessed her grandmother's house. The same house where Amara had once played on the porch, the house her mother still spoke of with tears. It wasn't coincidence. Ethan had taken from her family directly. Her stomach dropped. This wasn't just a man who humiliated her. This was a man who had torn her roots apart. The next morning, Amara stormed into Ethan's office. She slammed the documents onto his desk. "You destroyed my family's home," she said, her voice shaking with fury. "You didn't just hurt strangers. You hurt me. My blood." Ethan froze. His face drained of color. For a moment, the mask slipped entirely. I didn't know," he stammered. "I signed papers, made deals. I didn't see names, just numbers." "That's the problem," Amara shot back. "To you, we were numbers. To us, it was everything." Tears burned in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She turned to leave. But Ethan's voice stopped her. "Give me a chance to make it right." For days, Amara spiraled. Every instinct told her to walk away. To let him drown in the empire of cruelty he had built. And yet, another part of her whispered, "What if you can turn this pain into power? What if this is your chance to rebuild not just your family's dignity, but entire communities?" She prayed. She spoke to her mother, who listened quietly, then said, "Baby, forgiveness doesn't mean trust. And trust doesn't mean blindness. If you go forward, do it with your eyes open. Don't let him hold the pen this time. Make sure it's you writing the story." Her mother's words lit a fire. Amara returned to Ethan, not with forgiveness, but with conditions. "If I help you," she said, "I run it. Every dollar, every decision, every life we touch, it runs through me. You don't get to control the narrative. You don't get to polish your name. If you're serious about redemption, then step aside and let me lead." Ethan hesitated. His pride bristled. But he also knew he had no leverage. Finally, he nodded. "It's yours." And so, the Daniels Foundation for Heart Health was born. But the world wasn't ready to believe. When the foundation launched, critics called it a scam. Newspapers mocked Ethan's charity stunt. Donors withheld support. Even Amara's peers accused her of selling out. At the first press conference, the room buzzed with hostile questions. "Dr. Daniels, how can you work with a man who exploited thousands? Is this about healthcare or about rebranding a disgraced millionaire?" Amara stood tall, microphone in hand. Her voice was steady, her eyes blazing. "This is not about Ethan Cole. This is about saving lives. Judge me by the work, not by the headlines." The cameras flashed. The room fell silent. Months later, just as momentum grew, Amara uncovered something devastating. An anonymous email landed in her inbox. Attached were bank statements. Ethan had been quietly siphoning money from the foundation, small amounts, hidden among expenses, but enough to signal deceit. Her blood ran cold. She confronted him that night. "You promised me control," she said. "You swore this was about redemption." Ethan's face hardened. The old arrogance flickered back. "You think I can just hand it all over? This was my money to begin with. My name. My legacy. You were nothing until I gave you this stage." The words shattered her, because they were the same words, the same tone, from that ballroom years ago. Amara stood in silence, staring at him. For a long time, she said nothing. Then, finally, she spoke, her voice quiet but unshakable. "You're right about one thing. I was nothing to you. But I was everything to my people. And now, I'll prove it." She walked out. But she didn't walk away. Amara knew what she had to do. She gathered every document, every email, every receipt. She called the woman who had warned her in the parking lot months ago. Together, they built a case. And then, she went public. At a televised press conference, Amara exposed Ethan Cole's betrayal. She showed the documents. She told her story. She spoke of her grandmother's house, her humiliation at the scholarship contest, and the second betrayal through the foundation. "This is not just about me," she declared. "This is about every person whose life was crushed under his greed. This time, the world will hear our voices." The crowd erupted. Ethan's face filled every screen the next morning. Headlines screamed betrayal, corruption, and downfall. But one headline stood out most. Dr. Amara Daniels breaks silence, a foundation built on truth, not greed. Ethan's lawyers scrambled. His empire trembled. And for the first time, Amara stood not in his shadow, but in the light. Yet the question lingered, would Ethan fight back, or finally fall? The night after Amara's press conference, the city pulsed with whispers. News anchors replayed her words. Social media filled with hashtags bearing her name. And Ethan Cole, once celebrated as a mogul, found himself branded with a single word: fraud. For years, Ethan had lived untouchable. But now, the empire he built on broken dreams collapsed in days. And at the center of it all stood Amara Daniels, the girl he once told would never belong. Ethan's betrayal spread like wildfire. Reporters camped outside his penthouse. Protesters lined the street with signs, "Homes, not greed," and "Justice for the people." Investors pulled out. Lawsuits flooded in. His accounts were frozen. Overnight, he went from millionaire to defendant. Inside his crumbling world, Ethan lashed out. He denied. He blamed accountants. He accused Amara of fabricating evidence. But the documents were ironclad. And the testimonies from families he had displaced were undeniable. The same voice that once filled boardrooms with confidence now cracked under the weight of truth. While Ethan drowned in scandal, Amara's star soared. The Daniels Foundation, now completely under her leadership, received an outpouring of donations from communities across the nation. Ordinary people, not billionaires, sent small checks and online pledges. Nurses, teachers, janitors, and students stood behind her mission. She expanded the foundation, opening clinics in neighborhoods once ignored. She partnered with hospitals to offer free screenings. She launched scholarships for aspiring doctors from marginalized communities. Every headline now carried a new name: Dr. Amara Daniels, the woman who rebuilt broken hearts. Months later, Amara was asked to testify at Ethan's trial. She walked into the courtroom wearing a simple black suit, her mother's cross necklace around her neck. The room fell silent as she took her seat. Across the aisle sat Ethan. He was thinner now, older, his once slick silver hair unkempt. The arrogance that once defined him was gone, replaced by desperation. Their eyes met. For a moment, the past flashed: the ballroom humiliation, the hospital bed, the cafe conversation. Ethan's lips trembled. He mouthed, "I'm sorry." Amara didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her presence was the answer. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours. Ethan Cole was found guilty of fraud, embezzlement, and corporate malpractice. The judge's words echoed through the chamber. This court finds that Ethan Cole knowingly exploited communities, siphoned charitable funds, and violated the public's trust. His sentence will be served not in wealth, but in accountability. Gasps rippled through the room. Ethan lowered his head. His reign was over. After the trial, reporters swarmed Amara. Cameras flashed, microphones pushed forward. She raised her hand for silence. "This isn't about me," she said. "This is about every voice that was silenced, every family that was displaced, every dream that was stolen. Today, justice was served, not because I fought alone, but because we fought together. The real power doesn't belong to millionaires. It belongs to the people." The crowd erupted in applause. Tears glistened in eyes across the courtroom steps. Years later, Amara's work continued to grow. The Daniels Foundation became a national network of healthcare clinics. Young doctors who once believed they had no future now wore white coats because of her scholarships. And in lecture halls, students learned her story as part of case studies: how one woman transformed injustice into impact, humiliation into healing. As for Ethan, his name faded into history as a cautionary tale. A man who thought power made him invincible, only to learn that truth is the sharpest weapon. Amara never forgot the words he once told her, "People like you are born to serve, not to heal hearts." She proved him wrong in every possible way. She healed hearts, not just with medicine, but with justice, compassion, and resilience. Her journey was not about revenge. It was about rewriting the story. About showing the world that dignity and perseverance outlast arrogance and greed. And so, her message echoes still: the greatest revenge is not destruction, but transformation. What would you have done if you were Amara? Would you have walked away, or turned betrayal into power? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if Amara's story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggles for more stories that remind us that even in the face of oppression, victory is possible. Because no matter the struggle, the echo of justice is louder.